And we are live for the 17th episode of the Bronx Bomber Babble podcast. I'm your host, Matt, Luz, Luigi. And tonight, it is me, it is Andrew, and it is our boy G. How are you guys doing tonight?
What's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Good to be back.
Good to be back. Good to be a fan of a baseball team that is 22 games above 500 in the month of June.
Still the highest winning percentage in baseball.
Right. The standings are a bit complicated with all the rain delays. I believe we have 4 fewer games than the Red Sox play than the Red Sox, and I believe that will be 5 after tonight. So still a bit confusing, but we're just looking at the win percentage right now. And yeah, the Yankees have been on fire. A bit of a weird week. Played 4 games in 3 days between Monday and Wednesday. Obviously had an off day Thursday before having the Yankees play the Mets this coming weekend. So that should be a fun series because the Mets have just been sucking it up. And, boys, the title of this episode is Sunny Days Ahead because, wow, Sonny Gray was pretty phenomenal last night. And let's start there. That game last night wasn't the length of the game that was out of the ordinary. It was pretty much a normal Yankee game, 3 hours and 40 minutes, but 13 innings of no runs, and 8 of those innings were pitched by Sonny Gray. Only 2 hits. Might be his best start as a Yankee. Definitely one of his best starts this year. The second time in his last 4 starts, he's gone 8 innings. Guys, what's gotten into Sonny Gray? Why is he pitching like the guy we traded for?
Who knows what to say with Sonny, because he'll do this, he'll tease, and then he'll throw out just one of those dumpster fire performances next time around. So I'd like to see him back it up in his next outing. It'll be home, which he's been significantly better on the road. So I think we'll get a better taste next time he pitches to see if last night was a fluke or if he's starting to right the ship. But last night.
Yeah, just like two hits over 8 innings for Gray. And just what I always look for with Gray is just the pitch count and the walks. And, Boone sent him back out there for that 8th inning last night. And I'm not going to lie, I was a bit weary because his pitch count was getting up there. But, he did the job and obviously got a great backup from the bullpen. What did you think of your boy Sonny's performance from last night?
So I have really nothing but the stats because I didn't get to really see it. But, obviously the stats look good. He threw 99 pitches through those 8 innings, if I'm reading the thing correctly. So, I know the Blue Jays aren't really that good. They've been struggling a little bit. They've done some things, I think, against the Yankees that have been kind of annoying, like Teoscar Hernandez hitting home runs all the time. But, generally speaking, they haven't been that good. And, we said it, multiple times. He has good stuff, and he's always kind of alternated between, just nibbling and walking guys and just throwing balls right over the plate to get hammered. And, I guess he just found it. He found his sweet spot, and, he has good stuff, and he just used it. And give credit to a player, he beat the team that he was supposed to beat.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, and it brings me back to that start. It was the Saturday night Fox game 2 starts ago when he got absolutely roasted against the Angels, and he said in the post-game interview, "Oh, I thought my stuff was really good," and people destroyed him on Twitter. But you know what? His last 2 outings have been really good. I think it's very possible that he had a good feel for his pitches. Or, excuse me, he said the stuff was good. So, the movement was good. The pitches were sharp. He just wasn't locating them. So, if that's 3 starts in a row, he's felt good. 2 of them, he's gotten the good. That's a good sign.
Yeah, absolutely. And the biggest thing with Gray is, it's almost like 90% of the time or even more, his stuff is going to be there. His pitches are going to have movement on it. But, a lot of times he just messes around too much and he finds himself in too many 2-0 and 3-1 counts. And when he just goes after guys, when he just goes after hitters, I believe it was the Royals start early in the year where he was, 15 up, 15 down. And last night, it was 12 up, 12 down, ran into some trouble in the 5th, got out of it, I believe, rolled a double play ball to end the 5th and 6th inning. So it was just an all-around great performance from Gray in a game that really didn't have a lot to say about it until the 13th inning.
That start against the Royals and the start against the Blue Jays last night were the only starts of let's see, what is it, 10 starts? More than 10 starts. His only starts of the season that he's gone into or past the 7th inning. He pitched 8 innings both times.
I think those are the only 2 times he's pitched 8 innings in his Yankee tenure.
Yeah, I don't remember another time where I'm throwing 8 innings. But yeah, so it was only a 2-game set in Toronto, and before obviously last night's game, our blog leader Ryan Toms wrote a nice little piece about this. Got in touch with the family. The All Rise kid really stole the show last night. Props to the cameramen, the camera crew. They were all over that all night. The kid, I guess he got one of Judge's home run balls from batting practice. He realized it was Judge's ball, was all excited. Every time Judge got up, he was holding up an All Rise sign, and up until the very last at bat, Yes was on it. They were on this story, and what do you know? Aaron Judge hits the 2-run go-ahead home run to break the scoreless tie and eventually win the game. And it was followed by the hardest home run hit all year in baseball. Oof. And Stanton, 119.9, I think it was. It was 119 miles per hour. Absolute laser beam, man. I've seen Stanton hit home runs live like that, and those balls get out in a couple seconds. It's pretty incredible. Watching home runs like that, those line drives, might be even more impressive than watching those towering shots because you're just not used to seeing them. But
I hit one like that against the Red Sox at Yankee Stadium that I just remembered. John and Susan on the radio were just stunned by it. Just the fact, like a laser beam into the second or third row, right in left field down the line, and it was just. Dude, he's just crazy, man.
He's just crazy, man. And he kind of goes against Sterling's call. It's Sterling. Oh, no matter what, Sterling will always say it is high, it is far. And, really not that high when he hits them like that. Those balls do not get that high off the ground at all. But
not really that far either.
So the first game against the Blue Jays Tuesday, that resulted in a Yankees win as well. They took that. I believe 7-3. Yeah, 7-2. And that game featured Miguel Andujar's first career grand slam. And Aaron Hicks had a 3-run homer as well in that game to give the Yankees their 7. And we're gonna have a little who's hot and who's not for the Yankees segment in a little bit. But man, Miguel Andujar, he leads his team in batting average right now. Guess what? Last night's game was the first game Andujar's had where he had multiple walks. So, look, baby steps, right? There was a point in the season where he had, only a few walks, and, his on-base percentage is starting to look a little bit better. So, Andujar is really a guy that, we all know he could hit, right? That goes without saying. The guy's been an extra base hit machine. He's hitting, above 300, but it's nice to see him finally get a bit selective. He's up to 9 walks now. And, we saw Didi kind of turn the corner in terms of, getting on base and being more selective. And it's happened to Andujar pretty quickly too. So it's good to see. But yeah, so let's what were you going to say, Andrew?
I was going to say, did this become the who's hot, who's not? You kind of touched on half the guys already.
No, what's up, G?
No, actually for the what is it? The Tuesday night game. I think we should talk about CC since it was by far.
I think that's the most impressive part of that game. It's great to see Hicks and Andujar hit the home runs, but CC had a couple rough outings going into that, so that we got to talk about him.
Yeah, absolutely. And CC said on the R2C2 podcast that he had been sucking lately before that start, and it was nice to get back in the swing of things. But yeah, so just. When you when you have CC and Sonny on the slate for a series, that's not a guaranteed, no guaranteed wins there, especially with the way both those guys have been pitching. But to get 2 performances like you did from Sonny and CC, just phenomenal. Andrew, tell us about CC's performance on Tuesday night.
From him, and gave up what was it, 2 solo home runs. But they weren't even like mistake pitches. I don't think. I think they kind of maybe hung around a little bit. But yeah, who hit him? It was Teoscar Hernandez and Kevin Pillar. So it wasn't like he got burned by putting right down the middle to I don't know who's on that team without Donaldson. Right? They have Smoke and
Morales. 2016 version of Donaldson. That's really it.
Yeah. No, but CC does such a great job of pitching to location, pitching to soft contact, and it looked like Toronto was totally off balance the whole night. And that's when CC's at his peak, when he's just baffling hitter. It's the kind of games where I know we always get frustrated watching some nobody do the same thing to the Yankees. We're thinking like, this guy throws 88 miles an hour. How is his pitches aren't moving that much. He's not throwing hard. How are we getting absolutely dominated by this nobody? And not that CC's a nobody, but that's how he pitches all the time.
Yeah, CC that night let up 3 hits, and 2 of them were the solo homers.
Yeah,
so he was just in the zone. And just think of this: the Yankees starters in Toronto, Sonny Gray and CC, go 15 innings and give up 5 hits. I think that's a pretty good recipe. What do you guys think for winning
3 and 4 starter? Yes.
From your 3 and 4 starter, just to do that, it's just phenomenal. And look, the pitch count. I just keep looking at the pitch counts. CC only had 89 pitches through 7 innings. Just phenomenal.
I think for CC, I mean, he came back from his injury, and obviously he didn't seem all that sharp. He had 3 or 4 starts in a row. He only pitched like 4 innings or 5 innings, and his pitch count was just getting up there so quickly. It seemed like he had, even if he pitched like a good first or second inning, and then he would always have an inning where he threw like 30 pitches, and then that was it. He would just have that one big inning, even if he didn't give up any runs. He just wasn't sharp, and last night, for the first time since he came back, seemed like he was actually really sharp. So hopefully that can continue.
I think it goes back to that Red Sox game that we talked about, Stanton having that laser beam home run. I think that was the same game. CC had been cruising. And to that point, his ERA was under 2 or something like that. And then
his stats were ridiculous through the first 5-6 starts.
And then that start against the Red Sox, not even like that they hit him hard. I think he walked a bunch of guys. He just looked off. He had a couple 30 pitch innings. That was kind of the tipping point for his slump that he just went into, but seemingly he's out of now. But it's like night and day watching him when he's struggling. He's giving up a lot of hard hit balls right up the middle because he's leaving pitches over the plate compared to the other night when he's just keeping them off balance the whole night.
He only threw 4 innings in that start against the Red Sox. That was in early May.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had CC had some April. He really did. So Andrew correctly cut me off there because I was jumping the gun a little bit with the who's hot and who's not segment before recapping that game Tuesday. But let's just pick it right back up because I just want to talk about Miguel Andujar. I just can't get enough of the guy because I think Andrew was it me who said that Andujar and Gleiber would both be big parts of this Yankees team this season?
No, it wasn't you. It was someone else.
Oh, you're right. It was me. But no, it was me. And look, I thought they'd be, big parts of this team. I didn't think they'd be 2 of the best hitters, to be honest. And that's what they are right now. Andujar, just his first career grand slam Tuesday night. Like I said earlier, he's starting to work the count, simply put, he's starting to not swing at everything. Because there was a point in I forget which at bat it was and which game, but it was like a 7 or 8 pitch at bat, and basically, it was like a 2-2 count, and pitcher threw 3 or 4 straight curveballs in the dirt. He just swung and fouled all of them off, and eventually, the pitcher just threw one way out of the zone. And he swung and missed. And people were saying how good of an at bat it was, and I thought to myself, that's not a good at bat. He just kept swinging and swinging. He's got to take some of those pitches, and over the last couple of weeks, I've noticed him starting to lay off some pitches and started to put himself in much better counts. And it's just happening so quickly for all these young guys. And look, the defense for Andujar, that's another story. It's definitely got to improve. Something even with Andujar, I notice is when he throws, it's just I never feel secure. When he was throwing home last night to get Smoke out at home, it's I was so nervous. I don't know why. It's just his arm slot or something about it. It's just so unnatural. But Andujar at the plate, has been in fuego.
Has a 470 batting average, 8 for his last 17 over the last 7 days, with 2 home runs and 8 RBIs, and 3 walks in a week. So I mean,
yeah,
there you
go. Last night was his first career game with multiple walks, and it took extra innings to do it, but I'll take it.
And his on-base percentage is sitting at a nice round .337, which is a full 31 points higher than his batting average now.
Well, I mean, that's actually pretty good, because there was a point where his on-base percentage was, I think, only 15 or 20 points higher than his batting average. So, he's improving. He's improving. I think that's where Didi was last year in terms of his batting average compared to his on-base percentage, around 30, 40 points.
Yeah, those numbers, what is he hitting, like 303, 337 on base percentage, something like that?
Yeah, 6.
So those are very Didi-esque numbers.
Yeah, really though, it's just because like with Didi, it took a few years for him. This is the first year, and it's obviously still early, that he actually started to work walks and actually started to. I believe even though Didi struggled and his average is way down now, I mean his on base percentage is still still decent. Whereas last year, if Didi was hitting 240, his on base percentage would be probably detrimental to the team. But hey, he's changed that. Let's talk about a guy who who's just not hot, and we all love him. We all root for him. We all want to see him do well, but my God, Gary Sanchez is almost batting below 200, guys. Like, like he started the season, what was he, 2 for 35? That slump was to start the season, and you understood that was gonna put almost it was gonna anchor his stats down no matter what, just because you start off the year like that. But I mean, man, he just like he looks like he's in the Houston series. That's all I could think of when I see him struggling. I just see him hacking at pitches that are bouncing at the plate. He just looks lost up there. It's just the lack of approach. I don't know. What do you guys think is wrong with Gary right now? Like, what do you guys notice in his swing or his approach?
It's all his approach. I think mechanically, his swing doesn't look that much different, but he's swinging at everything. It's like, remember he went through that really bad slump I think it was either late June or early July last year. It was at that point where him and Judge were striking out every bat, hitting back to back. That's how Gary looks right now, where he's just waving at everything. He has no pitch recognition. He's swinging at a lot of first pitches and immediately putting himself down in counts. I think he has been drawing a couple walks of late, which is a good sign, but it looks like he's getting up there thinking hack, hack, hack. And that's not him. I think that's directly related to his issues.
I think I feel terrible. I forget who it was, someone on Twitter, but I think someone, their thought was like, it seems like he's just hunting fastballs. Like he's just waiting. He wants pitches that are just there on the inside corner so he can just crush them into the left field seats. Like, he's just going up there waving at stuff. And one of his later at bats in the game yesterday, just pitcher's throwing, he's pumping fastballs like right in the middle of the plate there, and he fouls them off, and then pitcher throws one in the dirt, and he just waved at it like not even close. And it's just, it's I don't know. We need to dial up A-Rod and J-Lo because, he's just not seeing the ball well.
Yeah, and when you do that, you start guessing. And I think that's what he's doing a lot. If you're seeing the ball well, you can react. I mean, there's a 20-mile-per-hour gap, let's say, between like a good curveball and a heavy fastball. The time to react is obviously difficult, but if you're getting up there thinking like, well, this guy's going to throw me a fastball and it's a slider low and away, like you're toast before you even start swinging the bat. And he's 100% guessing. He's not recognizing the pitches, arm slots from the pitchers. Like he literally just has in his mind, this is where the pitch is going to be. This is what type of pitch it's going to be. I'm swinging or I'm not swinging. And it's like throwing a dart in the dark at that point.
Yeah. Just some Gary stats really quick. He's 4 for his last 40.
Ugh.
This year against right-handed pitchers in 147 at bats, 177 batting average. I mean, those are awful numbers. Like there's no sugarcoating that. And I mean, I know the power numbers are still like, I think he still has 12, like 12, even the power numbers are now all of a sudden a bit down because he hasn't hit a home run in a few weeks. So, I think he had that little span or like that week or two span where, you got the game winning, the go ahead home run against Houston off Ken Giles. And then he hit the walk off at the stadium. And, it looked like things were getting back on track, but yeah, I mean, he's really fallen back into another bad slump. I mean, 4 for his last 40 is awful. I mean, I just keep using the word awful, but I mean, man,
it's like,
I mean, at least we have the best backup catcher in baseball, right?
I think for Gary, it's, I mean, stats aren't everything more than, him just being like a usable, productive player, but he batted 278 last year. Like, to think, we're 60-something games into the season now, like, more bats, more plate appearances. Like, think of like the kind of hot streak he's going to have to go on to get his average up to even like a number close to what it was last year is just kind of insane.
Well, what's interesting, Yes talked about that the other day. It was either last night or the day before when they were interviewing Marcus Timms talking about it. Timms, even himself, said that Gary's getting up there trying to get 4 hits in a single at bat, which I physically cannot do. I think he's getting caught in my batting average is crap right now, and I got to dig out by stringing together 4, 5, 6 hits in a row. And it's like, dude, you got to take it one at bat at a time. I know that's easier said than done, but I wonder if part of it is mental for him, that he's seeing his batting average nowhere near where it's supposed to be, and it's getting him.
Well, like the whole thing with starting off a year just so bad. Like, we saw it with Tanaka last year where he started up like at the first few months of the year. He was so awful that even when he started to pitch well, you still would just look at his stats and say, oh, those are awful because you just put yourself in such a big hole that nearly impossible to climb out of. And that's what Gary I mean, it's hard to imagine Gary hitting over 260 to end the season at this point. I mean, he'd have to raise his average 60 full points in only a few months. I mean, he could definitely do it. I mean, he's one of the most talented hitters in baseball, but it's not going to be easy. And it's not something that like needs to happen. It's like, oh, the Yankees need to, like, look, Gary could have a year where he hits 230, 240. I know that sounds ugly, but I mean, it's just like he's such a great hitting catcher. I think we've kind of forgotten, like, hey, he's not immune to seasons where, he might not hit at his usual average. And I think we're seeing that.
Yeah, I read an interesting article earlier this morning that said something along the lines of like scouts have said that 2016 Gary, when he came up as a rookie, was like that's as good as you're ever going to see him. I'm thinking to myself, like, I mean, maybe, but like, there's no way.
I mean, it's not like out of the question because that version of Gary freaking hit 20 plus home runs in a couple months. I mean, that was an insane tear he went on.
And he hit 300.
Yeah. And I was about to say, he was a 300 hitter and he would have been, I mean, I think he was 299, but that was only because he was just ice cold that like September, but
just like the last 4 or 5 games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know what I meant. Come on. But he was ice cold the last part of the season. Well, he wasn't ice cold for September because he's only up for freaking 2 months. So what am I saying? I should be doing a Mets podcast the way I'm podcasting right now. Anyways, yeah. So another guy that we were talking about who's not hot, and I just alluded to, who's backing up Gary, and shit, Austin Romine's in fuego. I mean, he, his hit streak ended. The 11-game hit streak came to an end. He didn't get a hit last night, but my Lord, Romy. You're my homie. What's gotten into Austin Romine?
He's done a really good job this year of reworking himself. I think they said that he closed off his stance a little bit. He shortened his swing. And I know you guys, everyone's probably heard it, but Boone challenged him at the beginning of the year. He said, I think your numbers, you could do better than you did last year. It wasn't like hey, man, you suck. Pick up your numbers from last year. It was like, we know you're more talented than what your baseball card says you did in 2017. And it was like a motivation thing. And Romine was all about it. He said he loved it. And he came ready to play this year. He was the best hitter in spring training too, right? I think he hit like 400 and we're all like, whatever. Spring training is a catcher. It doesn't mean anything. He's been just as good in the regular season.
He's been unbelievable at the plate. Like there's no other way to put it for a guy that, coming into the season, 230 career hitter. we have a few members of the podcast who just don't think highly of Austin Romine at all. Just don't think he's good. And
Air him out.
Matt, no, I don't air people out unless their name is Alex Weir. But
there it is.
I mean,
I didn't knock the guy per se, but I mean, I talked about him, as what he was coming into the season, which was just like the light hitting standard backup catcher who had 7 career home runs in 6 seasons coming into this year. But he's pretty much going to double that total or more this year if he continues on this pace, which is pretty cool. He's gone the Stanton route of just like closing your stance to the extreme, but it's working out really well, which is just really cool for him.
Check out his last 10 games, and this is in 5 last night. In his last 10 games, he's hitting .419 with a even .500 on base percentage, 4 home runs, 13 RBIs, only 5 strikeouts in 36 plate appearances.
Seems good.
Dialed in.
Yeah. And
he hit a ball hard last night in I think it was his first at bat. And then, but that one, they made a nice play on it. Didn't even make it out of the infield, but he still hit it really hard.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he wound up getting a hit last night, but
hit streak snapped.
Yeah, his numbers could have been even better. Not that we're gonna knock the guy for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's come to the point where he's been hitting so well that it's like, hey, it's almost not even to give Gary a night off. Like, you just want Romine's bat in the lineup every few nights. And look, he's obviously going to cool down, right? I think we already saw last night that he cooled down a bit. But, I mean, man, he's just been an asset. And now behind the plate, he's obviously still despite what, I know if you go on Twitter.com, Gary Sanchez is the worst defensive catcher in human history. Like, I know that's what Twitter will tell you. But, Austin Romine behind the plate, 8 of 10 base runners have stolen base off him this year. So, he's definitely a bit of a downgrade defensively in terms of keeping runners in check when good old Gary Bear is not back there. But
people don't like the stat catcher's ERA, but Gary's got a better catcher's ERA than Romine.
You hear that, people? You didn't like it. Andrew still gave you that stat right in your face. But
I think in terms of Romine versus Gary, the only issue with it is that, he's got a great arm, and the catcher's ERA is, that's a good stat, but he lets a lot of balls get by, which is fine. The way that David Cohn described it, when he's hitting, he's going to deliver more value to you as a hitter than what he'll give up as a catcher. But, that's not happening right now. So I think fans are just going to be even more aggravated in general than, at your average pass ball because he's just not hitting.
Yeah, of course that compounds the problem.
Yeah. Gary, the pass balls, Gary's still an issue, obviously. I think honestly that's something in terms of not even skill, it's just really effort with Gary. But it's been tough though for guys like Didi. Didi isn't in this section because he's not hot or cold, but Didi has how many home runs Didi's hit this month, guys? Or how many home runs Didi's hit in the last 28 days?
0.
None. One, maybe one. Yeah.
One home run in the last 20.
Yeah, you know what it was? It was May 23rd in Texas.
Yeah. So for next, we're gonna stick in the cold section. Guy that's cooled off a little bit, the Phenom, Gleyber Torres. Last 7 days, he's 4 for his last 23. Last 14 days, he's 10 for his last 43. So as expected, the rookie's cooled off a bit. He had that. He was hitting over 300 for quite a bit. Now his average is back at 294. The 10 home runs still gets to me. Like, every time I just see Gleyber with 10 home runs, just a little over a month playing, it's just incredible. But yeah, I think it's a case of pitchers are starting to watch a little bit more film on this Gleyber guy because he was one of the Yankees' best hitters for a few weeks, and they make adjustments, but
Yeah, you know what gets me with him in this cold streak he's in right now? He has 8 errors on the season. I think like 5 or 6 are in the last.
Andrew, I was literally just about to say, like, I don't think we should be focusing on him at the plate as much as we should in the field, because the thing I noticed about Gleiber is like he'll make these great plays, like those like plays that the average baseball fan like doesn't think are tough, but are just like really tough plays to like make look good. He makes those plays automatically, but like when there's just a slow grounder coming to him and he has all the time, like those are the plays he messes up, and I really think it's just might be like a lack of concentration. I mean, he's still a 21-year-old kid, but yeah, I mean his defense is really a problem, and we saw the other night, it directly cost the Yankees a run when Severino was pitching. He makes the error, runner goes to second, and that run eventually scores. And, Sevy did the right thing in the dugout and picked him up on, like, who was it, McCullers?
McCullers.
Yeah, shoot his teammate out. But, yeah, Sevy did the right thing, picked up Gleiber. But, yeah, I mean, talk about Andujar's defense being a problem. Gleiber's defense is a problem, too. It's just so hard to fix defense because almost like most young guys, especially most young infielders, middle infielders, or infielders in general, are just going to have problems defensively. It's tough. Like, people don't realize that with Hicks and Frazier. Like, when people say, oh, well, just put Frazier out there over Hicks. People don't realize how tough it is to be a great defensive outfielder. I think we saw that when Clint misplayed those 2 balls in Detroit.
Yeah.
But
here, real quick.
Yeah,
I'm going to put you on the spot, Luigi.
Oh man.
Makes a lot of difficult plays that you wouldn't think are difficult, but boots the easy plays. Don't think about it. Who does that remind you of? Former Yankee. Don't think about it. First thing that comes to mind. You're thinking about it.
No.
I was going to say Chase Headley. Headley made some amazing plays at third base, and then the ball hit right to him. He would air mail into the seats.
I don't know why I thought Cano, because Cano seemed like always to make the routine plays, but
Cano made every play.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know what? I never thought, Andrew, I never thought I'd be comparing Gleiber and Chase Headley.
Just defensively.
What a world. But yeah, just
8 errors. He's got 8 errors in 39 games.
And I think Andujar has less, right? I don't think Andujar has 8 errors.
He does. Andujar has let some easy balls chew him up, though, that have gotten rolled for hits. So
yeah.
I'm not super concerned about it. I mean, it stinks. It's definitely not what you want, hashtag Joe Girardi. But I mean, so he's got as much talent as any defender that, we'll see in terms of a prospect. But I'll compare him. I'll give him some high praise. Derek Jeter in his first full season played 157 games and had 22 errors. So, yep. I think and he over time, settled in and made like every routine play that was hit at him. I think, it's probably, like Andrew said, or concentration, or I think he just needs to learn and just settle in and just get those big league reps.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it.
He'll get there.
Eye-popping number, but I'm not concerned.
Mm-hmm. Let's go with one more guy for the Who's Hot segment, and
do it.
It's the ace, Luis Severino. He's been ungodly this year. I mean, just start. I think he's had one bad start. That start against the Red Sox. Other than that, he's been awesome just in almost every start.
Wasn't it 25 degrees that game too?
Yeah, it was literally 25 degrees for most games in April. That was just terrible. But yes, so just a quick. I think he's 9-1. He already has 9 wins in 13 starts. I mean, obviously that's run support and all, but 86 innings pitched, only 59 hits, only 21 walks, a WHIP of .93. And 102 strikeouts in 86 innings. And,
let me drop a stat. FIP, fielding independent pitching, 2.15 leads Major League Baseball.
Mm-hmm. Yep. His home runs per 9 innings at .4, also among the best in Major League Baseball. So, yeah, I mean, he's just been phenomenal. I don't think most of us didn't think he was going to have as good of a year as he did last year. I think we all kind of agreed with that as a group. But I know it's still early June, but man, he is he's on pace to even have a better year than he had last year.
Remember what the over-under was in the preseason podcast? Was it Was it like a 3.0 ERA?
I'm not sure, but I think I predicted him around like a 3.30 ERA.
Yeah, me too. I think we both agreed that he was going to have some dominating starts, but he'd throw in a couple where he gave up like 5 runs in 4 innings pitched, and that would bloat his ERA. And we've been dead wrong about that.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned like he really hasn't had that many bad starts. It seems like every start it's like 7 innings, 1 or 2 runs, 100 pitches and a win. Like just every start.
He hasn't given up more than 3 runs in his start all year, except for that one start in early April against the Red Sox where he gave up 5 in 5 innings. But he's given up 3 runs on 2 separate occasions, and that's literally it, aside from that Red Sox game.
And check this out. In his 13 starts, the Yankees are 12-1.
They also, I think, there's a stat for this somewhere, but they give him really good run support.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a 9-1 record, that's usually what it's going to be a result of, is great run support. But yeah, I mean, he's 12. Yankees have won 12 of the 13 games he's started. It's just he's all like I love Severino. The fact that he's only 24, it's scary. I mean, the guy
2.2 ERA on the season.
Has hardest fastball amongst starting pitchers in baseball. I mean, it's Sevy season. Like Sevy's a guy that I love obviously watching the Yankees every game, but like when Sevy pitches, it's one of those games that like I'd almost try to like just sit down and watch the whole game because I love watching him pitch more than I think I've loved watching any Yankees starter pitch in my lifetime. And because the Yankees really, when's the last time they had a legit ace like this? Like just think of that. I mean,
Roger Clemens in 2001, maybe.
Like I was about to say, like Clemens, Clemens had like above a 4 ERA with his few years as a Yankee, But CeCe, when we got CeCe was an ace, but
they had a couple really
good. A dominant ace,
They got a couple really good years out of CeCe. They got
absolutely.
He won
2009, 2010, 2011. Those 3 years were fire.
Like at or around 20 games, he won for like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, but like, in terms of like, CeCe was great, but like I'm talking,
he wasn't fully like Sevy is.
Exactly, like a dominating ace, a guy that has an ERA in the high 1s, low 2s, like halfway through the season, like that type of like that Scherzer, like Sale, Verlander type of ace. Like the Yankees really haven't had one of those in a long time, and here comes Luis Severino just following up, finishing 3rd in Cy Young voting last year, and he's. Maybe might win it this year. Who knows?
You know what's crazy? I would have never, ever expected this. I know he was great in 2015 when he came up, but I was at that Friday night game in 2016. I think it was the game that ultimately they put that phantom injury on him to put him down to the minors and ultimately move him to the bullpen. We went like as a starter or something. It was a game against the White Sox. He was opposed by Chris Sale. Gary Sanchez might have made his major league debut that night, or it was a second career game. Anywho,
they sacrificed him to Chris Sale and then sent him down the next day.
Yeah, that's exactly the game. They brought up Gary, the DH. He faced Sale, went 0 for 5. They demoted him the next day. But in that game, Severino gave up like 7 runs in 3 innings, and I was just
2 and 2/3, 2 and 2/3, 7 hits, 7 runs, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts.
Yeah, and that was it. That's he didn't start again until September, I think. But I was thinking at that point, like, what the hell happened to the guy who looked like our future a year ago? Like, is this it? Are we ever going to see him again? And now he's arguably the best pitcher in the American League. Like, it's insanity.
Yeah, and like that's what I kept saying at the beginning of the year, and even last year is that 2016 version of Sevy wasn't that long ago, right? That was very recent memory. But obviously this year he's been awesome, and you kind of almost forget about it, but. Yeah, I mean, hopefully we just look back, like, at the end of Sevy's career, we just look back at 2016 as just like that weird fluky year. Because, when you look back at it, I think his ERA only ended up being in the 5s. I mean, his ERA as a starter was like 7.5 or something. Like he was like as a bullpen guy, he was actually pretty good, which brought
he was disgusting. He had an ERA under 1.
Mm-hmm. He brought his ERA back to like at least like a somewhat respectable state. Like his ERA as a starter was just like brutal. Like his first start that year against Detroit, 5 innings, like only 5 innings, 3 runs, but he gave up 10 hits. Like it was just a rough year, man. It's crazy how he's just done a complete 180. But Yeah, so that's we're gonna just kind of do that from every now and then. It's just the easiest, most classic segment in the book, right? Who's hot and who's not.
I'm gonna throw my a quick addendum to the segment and a shout out for Greg Bird since he's been really good.
Yep, absolutely. The Birdman in New York deserves a shout out.
We're getting shout outs in. I Aaron games 328, 418, 569 // line. You go back to May 15th against the Nationals. That game that got obviously postponed.
Mm-hmm.
He went 0-3 in that game before the rain, dropped his batting average to a season low 208, and everyone was calling for his head. It was Clint's season. It was get rid of Hicks. Why do they keep playing this guy? He's useless. And he's been a very, very strong contributor since then.
Andrew, that's what I was alluding to earlier, where, so many people who were calling for Clint and who were just, look, get Hicks out of here. Get him out of here. People don't realize that, look, hitting 230, hitting 240 for a guy like Hicks, that isn't good. But at least that's a lower part of his game. A guy like Clint Frazier, there's no guarantee that he's going to hit 230 at an MLB level over given as many bats as Hicks. And furthermore, like I said earlier, we saw Clint, have a couple of blunders in left field, which, nothing against him, but people just take that for granted. People take for granted the plays that Hicks just makes on a daily basis that, Frazier might not make all of them. And you don't notice it until those plays aren't being made.
And even when Hicks makes
in the doubleheader Monday,
they were able to recover. There was a play in Detroit, I think, where he totally misjudged it and then had to scramble and made a catch at the end. Most defenders, if they misread off the bat, it's dropping as a hit. And he was able to recover. He looked like an idiot, but he still made the play.
Yeah, it's just people say in football, you just don't notice a great O-line until they're gone, until your quarterback's getting sacked every time. You don't notice a great outfield until, a ball drops in between three guys that clearly the left fielder should have called off.
Right.
That was something as someone who's played the outfield all throughout his life playing baseball. That was something that legitimately made me mad that Clint didn't call off that ball. You need to be screaming that's your ball. Look, Andujar, we've talked about earlier, he's not the best defensive third baseman, but there is no way in hell he should be all the way out in the outfield there, backpedaling, trying to make a play. It makes him look bad. And it's not about making anyone look bad. That's beside the point. But a few people in BBB said actually, and a few people on Twitter in general were saying, hey, I don't think Clint could have caught that, which is complete BS. I mean, he was right there. And even if he, quote unquote, couldn't have caught that, Clint needs to be calling that ball off. There could be injuries. There could be a collision. That's his ball, bottom line.
If the outfielder coming in, he should have, it's much easier for him than it is to expect Gleyber Torres or Andujar to make some, Willie Mays catch over their shoulder running backwards or something like that.
Matt, that's a good point. Who was playing shortstop in the second game of the doubleheader? It was Gleyber Torres, who I know is a shortstop by trade, but he's played every inning of his major league career before that night game at second base. So that's a play he doesn't normally have to. You could say it's similar going to right field from second as it is going left for sure. But I can't speak to it being the same play. But Clint has to be the one to call that off.
Yeah, no, that was that was inexcusable. That is something that if you know baseball and if you play the outfield, that on a ball like that, if the outfielder doesn't say anything, if he doesn't call it off, that is just a major no, because really that's really it's not even let's take our minds off of not making the catch. That's a classic case of a concussion right there. No one calls the ball, then three aggressive young guys just all run into each other. And, we've seen Clint's already had a concussion scare this year. And I mean, that's an easy way to get another one. And then I don't think I was watching the game at this point, but he misjudged another ball in the outfield too later in that game. Didn't he not?
I think that was the same inning, honestly.
Yeah,
the same inning where they got it was, I think, the double that put James McCann on second base.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the whole shenanigans with the ball that fell in. Not that I wanted, that we kind of got off on this tangent of just ripping on Clint Frazier, but I mean,
I like it.
No, I mean, I think it would. I mean, I'll give my tip of the cap to Aaron Hicks. Regardless of what his batting average is, which is over 250 now, which is kind of good. It's trending in the right direction. He works the count. He works good at bats, and he is aggressive on the base paths. He steals bases. But, I mean, not that it's something I don't think that's under serious consideration, but removing Hicks from an everyday role would complicate the center field situation since, Gardner has a lot of experience there, but I just don't think he's as good of an option because he definitely doesn't have as good of a throwing arm. And, I mean, he's still fast, but I think Hicks is much, just has a much easier time probably tracking balls and getting to balls than Gardner would at this point in his career. So that would make, like we saw Aaron Judge play center field, like it would just kind of make a mess of the whole situation. That is definitely not a necessary thing they need to explore right now.
Aaron Judge playing center field seems like it was another season because that was such when you saw Judge in center, it was such a whoa moment. What's he doing out there? Even when you saw Stanton in left field because he never played right field. It was just something you didn't expect to see so early, but Boone kind of right away was like, yeah, the Judge is playing center and Stanton's going to be in left and right. Nothing much you could do about it.
A lifetime ago, the Yankees were 9-9.
A lifetime ago, Billy McKinney and Shane Robinson were the outfielders for the Yankees.
Oh man,
doesn't that feel so long ago? It's crazy. But
a lifetime ago, the New York Mets were 11-1.
Yeah, that's a great segue, Andrew, because oh my God, the New York Mets, they have just fallen off the face of the earth. I mean, yeah, at one point they were, early in the season, they were just hot. Remember when the Yankees were one game over 500, 9-8, 9-9, the Mets were just cruising along, probably 10 games over 500.
They're 12-2, and they were.
That's not the case anymore. The Mets have arguably been the worst team in baseball over the past few weeks.
The just played the worst team in baseball over that same span. Yeah. The Blue Jays have the worst record. The Mets might have the second or third worst.
Mm-hmm. The Mets have 3 wins since May 24th. They have currently lost.
Score either.
The Mets lost. Let's see, 6 games in a row, and over those 6 games, they've scored 7 runs combined.
They just faced the worst pitching staff in baseball in the Orioles and scored 2 runs.
Yeah, the Mets in the last 4 games.
1 run, you're right. Excuse me.
No, guys, in the last 4 games, against the 2 games against the Orioles, 2 games against the Cubs, all games at home, by the way, they scored 2 runs. They've lost 6 straight, 7 of 8. They haven't won they split against the Braves, but I don't think they've won a series since they swept the Diamondbacks, which was a while ago.
May 18th.
They currently sit at 27-32. They're 4th in the NL East. And, the NL East is, the Braves and the Phillies are just pretty much a year ahead of schedule. So, that kind of sucks for the Mets. And, yeah, they're bad. The New York Mets are bad. I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was some Todd Frazier night or something, some memorabilia. They had to cancel that. They're just a friggin' mess, man. It's unbelievable. But I don't think it's going to be an easy series for the Yankees this week because you got DeGrom on Friday night, and then I believe Syndergaard was supposed to go on Sunday night, but
it's currently scheduled for Syndergaard versus Severino.
It was weird. The ESPN app, it had Syndergaard up there, but then it took him off today. So I assume Syndergaard's still going to go Sunday, but
I think they were saying he might have something with his finger or something. Yeah. They're not sure if he doesn't start. It's not because he's ducking the Yankees. It's because
he's been on a DL, right?
Yes, he has an injury or something and he's doing this. It's not because he's ducking like David Price.
I was about to say he's not David Price in the Yankees.
Or Ohtani to a lesser degree.
Yeah, Ohtani did it too.
Yeah, I was about to say who did it first, Price or Ohtani?
David Price.
Yeah,
he was playing too much Fortnite.
Oh man, we've done a few remember whens. Remember when David Price had a great start to the season?
Let's be honest. It was 3 starts.
No, I was about to say it was 3 starts, but it was a great start for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the Yankees on Friday night, you got Tanaka versus DeGrom. DeGrom, since coming back, he's been pretty nasty. On Saturday, the game Saturday is on Fox. Game Sunday is on ESPN. Domingo Germán will look to get that elusive win numero uno, and then
DeGrom coming off
Sunday.
DeGrom's coming off a 13 strikeout game against the Cubs that the Mets somehow managed to lose.
Yep. And then the following day, the Mets allowed John Lester to carry a perfect game into the 7th inning, I believe. John Lester. We're talking about John Lester here.
In 2018, John Lester.
2018, John Lester.
2018, John Lester. Yeah, but what do you guys – I mean, do you guys see the Yankees just pulling off the clean sweep of the Mets? Because, I mean, they've just – it's really not – because, like, I think it's going to be, like, a few low-scoring games because they've, overall, like, they've been pitching pretty well. They haven't been really – like, their bullpen's awful, but, their starters are pretty good. Even Steven Matz, who will be the other pitcher they start, he's had a pretty solid year.
Yeah, his last outing was good, too.
Yeah. And
he actually went toe-to-toe with Lester in that game on – I think it was last Sunday. They've all pitched well. I mean, you just look at those are their 3 best pitchers. If in fact Thor pitches on Sunday night, I have to say that the Mets are going to take at least one of the 3 games, just because it's very hard to just say guaranteed we're going to take all 3.
Right.
Even as bad as the Mets are, one of those guys has a good pitching performance. I mean, what are you going to do?
Not like, you can't just lock it in like, oh, they'll definitely sweep. But I mean, the Mets, they can't score. You could say that they're facing the Mets' 2 best pitchers, but the Mets are basically facing the Yankees' 2 best starters as well. So, I mean, it's and the third, the matchup in between, which is, Domingo Germán versus Steven Matz. Like, Steven Matz has been pretty good, and Domingo Germán's had some good starts and good outings, good stretches of game too. So, I mean, like, I consider that one, maybe a toss-up. I think it's hard. You just got to give the advantage to the Yankees for a million different reasons, but just the Mets can't score. Like, they really just can't score runs.
Their offense is so bad. They're right now, their leader in pretty much almost every offensive category is Asdrubal Cabrera.
Yep.
And he's having a nice year. He's hitting 286, but I mean, they don't even have anyone who, like, their next highest batting average, I believe, is Ahmed Rosario, who's hitting 251. Like, Conforto's down at 228. Todd. It's no surprise that Todd's at 230. I mean, that's where he kind of.
But Todd just came off the DL. Cespedes is on the DL. Jay Bruce might be going to the DL. He hasn't really played the past few years.
Jay Bruce has 3 home runs for the whole season.
Speaking of injuries, here's a fun game. Who plays first in 2018? David Wright or Jacoby Ellsbury?
Neither.
I say Ellsbury.
I'm going to say David Wright. Just because.
Just because you want to watch the world burn. Well, so there were some rumblings and some possibility that Cespedes would come back for this series, but I think there was a reporter today that said that that's probably not going to happen. And I mean, with Cespedes, his injury history, why would you rush him? And even if you don't rush him, he'll probably get hurt again. So I mean, and so it doesn't sound like he'll be back. Honestly, I mean, even though Todd Frazier was really good for the Yankees, I don't know. I don't see how much he moves the needle for the Mets offense. Like, it's not so much about him as it is about everyone else.
Yeah, I think it was, I was upset to see Todd go, and I'm especially upset to see him go to the Mets. But, yeah, it was more upset as that he wasn't going to be in the Yankees as a clubhouse guy. It really wasn't about his bat, I mean, he was very, very unspectacular for the Yanks last season in his short stint, and looks like he's been that for the Mets. And, obviously he's gone through some injuries, but yeah, it's always fun to have a nice little Subway series. Really, it just sucks for the Mets that they're just ice cold, and then you get the, 40-18 Yankees coming into town.
Well-rested bullpen.
Yep, well-rested.
Good starts.
You get, the Yankees got their number 2 and their number 1 guy going, and 2 of their starts, and obviously Germán. So it should be a fun series. And guys, we got anything else you want to talk about?
I mean, so right around this time the last couple times right around this time, we threw out a hot take or two.
G loves the hot takes. I love it. Well, G, you know what? You suggested the hot takes. What's your hot take? Let's have a hot take for the weekend series.
Oh, God. Is it a hot take to suggest that the Mets score more than 3 runs in a game at this point?
That is, their last 4 games they haven't scored 3 runs. So I mean that might be a hot take.
Or you could go about it a different way and say combined for the 3 games, like would they score more than, I don't know, like 8 runs total in 3 games? Is that possible? Is that a hot take?
You're asking a question, man. We need a hot take here.
Yeah, Andrew took the words right out of my mouth.
All right, no. So circle back to me because I really I'm really content with the way the Yankees are playing, despite the fact that maybe Gary's in the tank right now. Like I'm really.
So then make Gary breaking out be your hot take.
All right, fine. So
Gary does have a home run against Jacob deGrom. So
yeah, okay. So Gary will have a home run. He'll have a good series if that's a hot take. It's a very non-specific hot take, but it's a hot take.
All right.
I got one.
Stanton will hit a 450-foot home run again, like he did.
He does have a lot of experience against the Mets in that ballpark.
I was about to, he's very familiar with the New York Mets. Stanton is, but my hot take: 7 Sunday Night Baseball, 13 strikeouts.
Woo!
I'm feeling.
I mean, honestly, against this Mets lineup,
he's had, I believe, 10+ strikeouts in his last 2 outings. So
it's not. Quick tip of the cap to Severino. His Astros game, his complete game against the Astros, is already going to be on Yankees Classics.
Isn't it on tonight?
I don't know, but I saw the commercial for it yesterday, which is pretty cool for the kid right there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, my hot take: Domingo Germán picks up his first major league win on Saturday.
Okay. So, are we circling back to G, or did G just give us like 8 hot takes?
No, I gave you like a sampling of some hot take thoughts. But
he gave us a trail mix of hot
takes. I think my hot take was that Gary would have a good series, since that's
hasn't happened a lot.
He's stinking up the joint right now, so that'll be my hot take. That Gary has a good series against 2 of the Mets' 2 best pitchers.
Well, those were our hot takes, and I guess with that, that's our show. So for Matt, for Andrew, for G, the Bronx Bomber Babble podcast, and boys,
eaters.
Cheers, boys.